Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. North Dakota State at Colorado, year 2 of the Coach Prime era. Let's go ahead and break it down. Let's discuss as Colorado gets the 31-26 win. There are a lot of takeaways, some good, some bad, some not perfect, but I have 2 big takeaways. One, did not love Colorado's clock management. I'm going to blame the offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur, there. I don't know what he was doing there in the final minute, but what also can't be denied, for all the talk, for all the conversation, Shedeur Sanders remains one of the more special quarterbacks in college football. Let's take it a step further, though. Travis Hunter is that dude in that building at Colorado. They say Travis is him. Okay, I'm not a cool, hip, young guy, but he is him. Travis Hunter is him. 3 touchdown catches for the best cornerback in college football as Colorado holds on to win this game, as I said, 31-26. In terms of the game, listen, let me start by saying this. I know everybody wants to make this about Colorado. Let's give North Dakota State a little bit of credit, okay? Because I thought North Dakota State came out with the right game plan, especially early. You could tell North Dakota State, new head coach, they respected Shedeur Sanders, they respected this offense, and they did everything that they could to keep that offense off the field. By the way, every time Colorado's offense came on the field, it was boom, touchdown, score, get the ball back to North Dakota State. So North Dakota State, to their credit, ran the ball effectively early, chewed up the clock early, and obviously we know the deal. Took a 20-17 lead into halftime. And let me say this, just in case, so I don't forget it later. Cam Miller, the quarterback at North Dakota State, let's give that kid their flowers, okay? And listen, I'm not going to oversell it, but this kid I thought was poised. I thought he was comfortable. I thought he, was confident, and he did everything that he largely could to keep North Dakota State in that game. 277 yards passing, 81 yards rushing. North Dakota State, again, I thought had a great game plan. Thing is, though, again, North Dakota State had the 2017 lead going into the half. The second half was really all about, I don't want to say 2 things, but it was really about a couple things. The most important thing, Colorado had Shedeur Sanders. Colorado had Travis Hunter. The other team didn't, and that was the difference on Thursday night in Boulder, Colorado. And so when I look at this game, the only takeaway that I have, Travis Hunter is him. Okay. And listen, one thing, let me even say this. I am a Coach Prime guy. We have talked about it on this show time and time again. I don't think he's perfect, whatever. I don't think he's Nick Saban. There's only one Nick Saban, whatever. But the one thing, whether you like Coach Prime, whether you hate Coach Prime, the bottom line is this. The most savvy move that just about any football coach has made in the last couple years in college football is pretty straightforward. It is that Coach Prime at some point realized, you know what? This kid, Travis Hunter, isn't only an elite cornerback. He could be an elite wide receiver, and I'm going to let him play on both sides of the football. So you want to go back to the Jackson State days? You want to go back to last year against TCU? You want to go back to this year against North Dakota State? I don't care where you go to, but Travis Hunter is so special, and the one thing that I love about watching this kid is a couple things. One, first of all, by all accounts, seems like a great kid. He is just so one of one. Elite offensively, elite defensively. They talked about it on the broadcast tonight, but he had a 4.0 GPA last spring. He's just about the right things, but between the white lines, he is that dude. What's kind of crazy, by the way, Colorado fans, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I watch a lot of the well-off media videos that the staff puts out, that Deion Sanders Jr., Bucky Sanders puts out. It doesn't seem as though Travis is going full speed during practice. He's got a different jersey. It feels like Coach Prime kind of was like, you know what, we're not going to push you too hard here in fall camp. And he steps in on opening night, and he was not only incredible, but they absolutely needed him. 3 touchdown catches, each kind of at a crucial point, right? He has that first touchdown catch early in the game. Catch, spin, gone, touchdown, boom, he's Travis Hunter, he's back. Then later in the game, second half, they're trailing, touchdown drive, he ends up scoring in the red zone, obviously, goes without saying. And then the third touchdown was the crucial one, right? They were up at that point, they were up 24-20, needed to get some distance and some breathing room. And Travis Hunter, that insane touchdown catch where the North Dakota State defensive back is like hanging on top of him. And Travis Hunter, as he's falling, hands all over his face, just makes the touchdown catch. And so listen, like I said, you can like Coach Prime, you can hate Coach Prime. I don't really care. It's not my prerogative. But it doesn't change the fact that like that was just absolutely a special performance from Travis Hunter in that game. Really quickly, before we get to some negatives from Colorado, including that play calling late in the game, let me also say this, dude. Listen, I know that if you are not a Colorado fan, some of the Shedeur stuff can drive you crazy. He is an NIL athlete. He's got all the endorsements. He's on all the commercials. And by the way, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. Make your money. Be a millionaire. It doesn't matter to me. But between the white lines, that dude is such a freaking dog, okay? Because you look at Colorado, you look at this game, Shedeur is that dude as well. Listen, I'm not a quarterback evaluator. We're going to see Carson Beck against Georgia, or against Clemson, in a couple days. We're going to see Quinn Ewers at Michigan in week 2. It is hard for me to imagine that there is a guy with as much naturally, just incredible gifts that Shedeur Sanders has. 26 of 34, 445 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception in this game. And so Shedeur is special. Travis Hunter is special. Listen, I think that entire receiving room is special. Thought it was interesting. Draylon Miller, who was a highly rated recruit, was committed to A&M under Jimbo Fisher, decommitted after Jimbo gets fired. First 2 plays of the game, they made sure to feed him the ball. And of course, Jimmy Horn was incredible in this game as well. 7 catches, 198 yards, which is kind of crazy in its own right. Now, listen, couple things. I want to go positive and negative back and forth. A couple negatives. One, the play calling was just weird. And listen, I'm not the dude that gets on a podcast and just starts trashing coaches and pretending like I know more, okay? I'm not that dude. I'm not an X's and O's guy. I say it all the time on this show. Criticize Torres for I'm not X's and O's guru guy. And so because of it, I try to keep my mouth shut on trying to criticize coaches. But Pat Shurmur, what the heck were you doing down the stretch of that game? Okay, so we all know what happened, but obviously Colorado has the lead. From there, North Dakota State scores. They do not get the 2-point conversion. Colorado gets that crucial first down, and then they decide to throw the ball late in the game. Decide to throw the ball to basically seal the win. And I don't know if they're trying to get Shedeur an early Heisman moment or what, but throw the ball deep. It's incomplete. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden, what could have been, time running off the clock instead is now North Dakota State gets the ball back with 31 seconds left. So I didn't love the play calling. That was weird. And let me also say this, like if you're looking for a negative or a concern for Colorado, it's that couple things. It was very clear that I don't know if they didn't early on. It was clear they wanted to try and establish the run. Later on in the game, I think they just felt like the best quote unquote run game is to have Shedeur just drop back and throw short passes. And so I don't know if let me backtrack. I don't think the O-line is as bad as people are going to make it out to be. But what I will say is when they had to run the ball, they were not really able to do it. And I do think as you start to look ahead to this schedule, it is insane. Starting with Nebraska next week. Nebraska was a top 20 defense all of last year. Forget Kansas State, forget Utah, forget Kansas, forget Oklahoma State. Producer Matt brought up a great point before we started going live. I mean, that back half of the schedule is insane, but I do think if you're looking for a negative or a concern, I thought the O-line was going to be better over the course of the season. Didn't look like it early in this game, was not able to run the ball at all. And I think that's a big concern. One thing I will say, it was obvious to me. Now, you guys and girls may disagree. Drop your comments in the chat if you completely disagree with me. I thought it was pretty clear to me that the defense is improved. Now, it needs to be better. And this Cam Miller kid early in the game was able to make plays with his arm. Late in the game was able to make plays with his legs. But for most of the second half, that defense really did what it was supposed to do. And this is something that we talked about over the course of the last month or so as we started to ramp up our college football coverage. What did I say consistently on this show? I said the defense is much improved. BJ Green was an all Pac-12 guy. Rest in peace, Pac-12 at Arizona State last year. Deion Hayes was all over the field today. He was really good at Pitt last year. The Levante Bentley kid was everywhere on the field on Thursday night. Was phenomenal. He's not a new player, but he was very good last year. And so let me just talk big picture for half a second with Colorado. Because to me, let me say this. I think there's going to be a lot of people, and I already see it on social media. Colorado looks the exact same as last year. They're terrible. They stink. They're going to go 4-8 again or 3-9. Coach Prime's a fraud. Maybe I was watching a different game. I just fundamentally disagree with that. Now, it's not perfect. I'm not saying that this was, the first game on a march towards a national championship. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that when I look at this game and I look at this performance, yes, you would have liked to be a little bit better. Yes, there are concerns. But I think there's takeaways. And if you can't look at that game, I feel more confident in this team this year than I did a year ago at this time. Even when they beat TCU, it was back and forth. Defense couldn't get off the field, couldn't stop anybody, whatever. Worth noting, by the way, and I know everyone's, it's only North Dakota State. Listen, North Dakota State is better than a lot of FBS teams, okay? I promise you. If you put North Dakota State in the Mountain West, they ain't finishing in last place. They ain't getting blown out by the bottom half of that league. And so I'm not saying they're Alabama or they're, fill in the blank, like whatever. I'm not saying that they're the best team that's ever played the game of football. But I don't think surviving against North Dakota State, when remember, they've beaten FBS teams before and they've given other ones fits, I don't think it's the worst performance that I've ever seen. And so in the bigger picture, I do think there's positives. I think when I look at the offense, one, I'm not receiver room is as good as any in the Big 12. I'm not saying it's Texas or Ohio State or Georgia, but it's probably in that next tier. Travis Hunter is special. Jimmy Horn is special. I think some of the guys that didn't even really get burned today, LeJante Wester is special. I think they're going to be really good. I thought the pass protection largely held up. And I thought Shedeur showed he is as good as any quarterback in college football, especially when he has time in the pocket. So when I look at this team, I don't see negative. I see a team that, listen, they got work to do. Make no mistake about it. But this is a team to me that has higher upside than the one from a season ago. I don't look at the negative of a 5-point win over an FCS team. I see it as more so, listen, they scored when they had to. I thought the defense was excellent in the second half until the final, 2.5 minutes. And they did what they had to do. And so it's not perfect, but you get to 1-0. And I do think, I will say this, I am fascinated to see them next week against Nebraska. Nebraska, listen, obviously that defense was elite a year ago, but the one thing you got to remember about Nebraska, they are starting a true freshman at quarterback that, let's call a spade a spade. It's not as though, Dylan Raiola is going to have a ton of experience going into that game next weekend, when they are at home. Now, obviously Nebraska being at home, is a huge advantage for them. But listen, I look at this roster, I look at this team, Nebraska. I'll be curious to see. I think Nebraska is kind of a key game because that defense is going to be significantly better than the one that they saw. But also, I think this defense can give fits to that Nebraska team that, again, is starting a true freshman in what will be his second career start. And then from there, it gets interesting because you got Colorado State in week 3. You got Baylor in week 4. So you have a chance to start off well. But I'm very curious. I'm very intrigued. The back half of the schedule is tough. And I don't think it's fair for me on opening night to start talking, well, I mean, this team, they're not going better than 6-6 or 7-5 or 5-7 or whatever. I think it's just, let's pump the brakes. Let's chill. Let's take a deep breath. Let's figure out what this team is over the next couple weeks. I saw an elite quarterback. I saw an elite receiver room. I saw an O-line that could at least pass block, but obviously they're going to have to run block better. And the defense, again, listen, second half, they were lights out for 75% of it. And I think that's an important part of this game.